Hello boys and girls, today I'm going to show you how I'll solve one of the major fuel system problems on E55 and CLS55 AMG. The problem is that some of the cars are having fuel leak from fuel tank. The leak is caused from this unit and the fuel starts leaking from here. You can see the cable shoes here and the yellow coloring of the plastics. This is the connector that connects the fuel pump to the electrical system by this way. The problem is that this connector is used for about 25 amps of current. This type of connector, for example, is used on the headlights. They're about 60 watts on high beam, and this is on 12 volts, it's 5 amps. Here, two cable shoes are used for 12 amps. Because the current is very high, these shoes here are getting very hot. You can see the deformation of the shoes, this one here. When this thing gets very hot, it transmits the heat to these pins here. That's why there is a yellow coloring here. And the other problem is that the fuel pumps, there are actually two. You can see them. These are the two fuel pumps. There are two extra connections here. Every connection point here and here is producing heat. This is my very old rusty connection. When the connector is installed here by this way, and this connector is installed here by this way, a lot of heat is produced in these contact surfaces. And when the pins started heating, they start heating the plastics. And once the plastic is enough hot, the fuel starts protruding from here up to this point here. And the fuel starts leaking from this point here. Okay, what can we do? Unfortunately, this part is not available for sale. It is sold with fuel pumps only. And when this thing fails, you have to buy a new set of fuel pumps. It's a must to replace this connector because of the heat. These contact surfaces or cable shoes losing their ability to conduct current and start heating more. To solve this thing, once you replace this connector, I advise you to use this thing. Here is the part number. This thing is an extension. When you replace this connection on the car, you connect this to here. To install this wiring, you need to swap this and this pin here. Pin number 1 and pin number 2. But this doesn't solve our problem. This is my spare fuel pump cap, and what I'm going to do to solve the heat issue. During the time, these things get hot too. And the cable shoes inside lose their tension and start producing a lot of heat. I can replace the upper connector, but they are with the fuel pumps only. I'm going to cut this thing here and here. I'm going to solder the fuel pump wiring directly to this cap to reduce amount of heat that all of the connections are producing here and here. Because when I solder these wires here and here, the only heat will be produced from the top connector. And I believe this is going to help a lot of not melting the fuel cap. You may wonder why I'm not using these wires here, because these fuel pumps are very cheap, and everything including the connections are very loose and I don't like them. I think this cap is good. I tested the pins. They are brass, they're okay. I believe I can solder the wires here, and I'll try to fix the problem by this way. On my car, this is the first fuel pump cap. It failed, and the second one is melted too, and when I fill the tank to the top, it starts leaking fuel from this point. I hope this will fix the issue. You need tools like this. I'm putting this on the bottom till the end, and this thing on the top. Because there are two pins like this one and this one. There is an extra safety pin here that I'm going to lift. You have to be careful not to pull this thing very hard, because you may break the copper locking pins. Now the pin is released. This thing has to go here, and this thing here, and that's it. It's done. Now I have to remove the fuel pump cap from my car, and I forgot something. Once I solder these connections, I can remove and install the wiring through these connections here and here. Now I have to remove the fuel pump's cap and remove the original wiring, solder the wiring to these points, and return everything in the fuel tank. Actually, I've decided to put some tin here to check is it possible to solder the connections here. I'm using this solder thing, and this is some kind of flux. For this task I have to cool the pins, not to melt the plastics. I'll put this rack here, or this piece of cloth. But first I have to put water here and to the cloth. I know that this is going to cool the pins and make the soldering much more difficult, but the most important part here is not to melt the pins. I'll put some water on this thing to be able to cool the pins immediately after the soldering. I'll put some flux here. Yes, I'm able to make the soldering. This step is very important to cool down the pins very quickly. I have to remove the seat. From this side it has something like a pin that I have to push in this direction. I have to remove the heating cable. I need 8mm socket to unscrew the screws. Actually, this cable is the extension harness that I already installed on this car. It's connected here, you can see, but I have to replace it because the connector is bad. And one advice, you need the fuel tank to be empty as possible, because if it's full, when you remove the fuel pump cap, the fuel will spill everywhere, and it's quite dangerous situation because the fuel is very flammable. I can feel the smell of fuel. Just a second. You can see the fuel that is leaking through this connector. This is the extension harness that I previously already installed on this vehicle. Now I have to replace just the extension harness, not the harness connector on the vehicle. Yeah, the plugs are damaged. These are looking okay, but I'll replace it to be sure that everything is fine. For unscrewing this plastic nut here, the black one, I have to use a special tool that I don't have. That's why I'll try to use a plastic hammer. I'm cleaning the dust because I don't want to drop in the fuel tank. These are the cable connections. Actually, what I see that they already melted here. Actually, the melting of the plastics is caused by these two connections here. That's why I need to modify them. I cannot pull these out. That's really strange. I'll remove these from the fuel pumps. Here they're looking good. This is what we need. These cables, they're much better than on the other pump. I want to show you something. These are the fuel pumps. They're placed inside some kind of baskets. You can see that the fuel in the tank is very low, but the fuel pumps are filled with fuel. The baskets are working correctly. That's very important. This seal is a newer style. The green one, that is alcohol compatible, that I previously replaced. Actually, you can see how the bad connections here melted the plastics, and that's why the fuel is spilling through this point here. And actually you can see that, oh really, you can see that here the plastic is melted, and here too. Oh, that's awful. I definitely will remove these connectors and solder. Oh, actually, you can see that the wire is melted here. Can you see it? The red one. Yeah, this one on the left looks okay. Okay, this is the old one. You can clearly see the meltings. This is the new one. It looks okay. I've tried to remove these connectors, but unfortunately I'm not able to do it because they stick inside. That's why I'm going to use this cable cutter and we'll cut these wires. I'll put some soldering material here to be able to solder this faster. I have to do it in the same polarity, brown, red, brown, red. This is very important. The first connection is done. I think it looks okay. I need to put some more tin here. You can see that all the solders are looking okay. This is how they should fit. I have to clean from all the remainings with solvent because the gasoline will dissolve all of this and all the remainings will go to the injectors. For this task I will use a piece of quote and a stone or something like this. Nitro thinner or blah blah. It's at stone, I think. It dissolves all the remainings, but the plastic should remain untouched. Now I have to connect the pumps and install the fuel pump cap. It doesn't matter which cable goes where. There is an arrow. This arrow should point in this direction. I have to tighten this on hand, and after that I have to use the hammers to tighten it completely. Now it's good and tight. I have to remove this cable and replace it with new one. Here it looks okay. These pins are still good because I'm using this adapter harness. This is the new harness. I have to put it here. It's very tight. And that's it. I need to align this piece here, by this way. And to install the cap. Or I should test the car first. Okay, let's do it. I have to hear the fuel pumps. Yeah, they are working. I have to align this foamy piece with this thing here. Check the fitment. It looks okay. The cables are fine. I have to tighten all the bolts. I have to reattach the seat heating connector. And it's done.